What's up, everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of Evening Alpha. I'm your host, Todd. We are here again. Thank you, guys. It's the start of another week. We love you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Man, oh man, we got so much great stuff coming up today. In just a moment, I cannot wait to introduce our guest tonight. I think you guys are going to be very excited. I'm excited to learn more about this project. It looks freaking awesome, so I'm super stoked. In meantime, we're going to jump in really quick to a little bit of housekeeping. So first up, pay attention. Adult fantasy people, adult fantasy. Couple things you got to know this week. Couple things are coming up. Really, really cool. Very first thing you need to know is that we are giving away an NFT. We're giving away an Ashcan NFT. So the Ashcan edition NFT, we have the Origin comic. The drop is coming up. We are in manufacturing and production, I guess. Manufacturing? Do you see that for NFTs? I don't really know. We're in the process of making the darn thing. So it's underway. And so what we're doing tonight on this stream, we are going to be giving away an NFT, an Ashcan edition. All you have to do is on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. So comment, like, and subscribe, and we're going to pick somebody, and you will be hand-delivered digitally, of course, Ashcan NFT. So again, hook us up, comment, like, subscribe, win that NFT. It's all yours. Also, under the Adult Fantasy House, we are currently underway in the judging of the biography bounty. So thank you to everybody who submitted their bio ideas for the next great adult fantasy character. The biographies are freaking awesome, man. I read some of them. They're just awesome. You guys kicking ass. Like, I thought I was going to have to write more and kind of do a tutorial on how to do that. But thanks for making my day easier, because you guys rock. So the judging will be underway for that. So good luck to everybody. And because the judging is going underway for the biography bounty, that also means that the art bounty contest is going to be ready tomorrow. So, hopefully, but we're pretty sure we can have it ready tomorrow. So the art bounty contest will go down live tomorrow. It's my favorite part. I don't know why, but the art bounty, remember, is for royalties, right? The bio is to win royalties. The art contest is to win royalties on the next drop. So if you win the biography bounty or you win the art bounty, you will be included in the primary sales of the next drop. So it is our way of saying thank you for helping us actually create this universe. So NFT giveaway, comment, like, and subscribe on YouTube. Judging is underway for the biography, and the art bounty contest will be ready tomorrow. Again, those are for royalties, so please help us out. We'd love to see your work. And we're going to start doing some live streams, of course, to help with the art side and some other things. I'll probably start doing that, if not tomorrow, then Wednesday. So we love you guys. We love you. All right. Enough about me and enough about adult fantasy. I am super stoked to introduce tonight our wonderful guest, Scott from Specks of Dust. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you.
Good, dude. So first question, really the only question, is kind of the question we always ask people is, tell me about Specks of Dust, dude. It looks awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. Appreciate that. And yeah, really, thanks for having me on. I'm a fan of the show. It's great. And your work is also amazing. So this is totally an honor, and I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for reaching out about it. But sure. Specks of Dust, Specks of Dust. It's a comic project, and we're using NFTs to be able to vote on the story of the comic. That's at its core what it's about. And the story itself, there's some parameters that have been set up, and we're kind of writing it as we go along. But we have kind of the lore out of the gate, and want the community to also help out and to kind of decide that too, and leave it open and let people interpret it however they want later on.
That's really awesome, man. Like, I gotta say, so if you guys, for those who haven't seen the art style, it's a really interesting style. It's very classically animated, and I love the fact that it has. I love the concept. It's got so these characters are particles, right? Like, how does that? How did you like? I guess my question is like for the story and how you're coming up with this broader vision for this, because it's not just a comic, right? We got this NFT project.
Sure.
So how are you, like, how did you come up with the concept of these specks of dust, and how does that actually tie together to something bigger?
Yeah, so the specks are aliens, and I always kind of thought to you that even I'm a fan of science fiction, and I'm also I'm not a scientist by any means, so I don't know how any of it works. I just like the idea of it. So, but I always thought like, oh, it'd be kind of fun. Like, what if there are aliens that were actually really small? I mean, you always assume maybe aliens are the size of us, or the size of like an animal or something like that. But what if like they were just really small, but also really intelligent, and maybe that can help them travel through the universe faster if they're smaller, get through like wormholes or something. Or what if they're also ancient aliens? What if they've been around forever and they've explored the universe, but they just don't really understand it because they're just small and they can't quite, even interact with anybody. So it's kind of the general idea. And also, it's kind of funny too that like, what if if they can never actually interact with anybody and they're just trying to make sense of it? I mean, and they can't communicate with anybody. What does that do? I mean, will they ever find the answers? And yeah, that whole premise to me is it seems kind of ridiculous. And yeah, just also to invent like a fun like alien species. It's great. Like totally open-ended. I mean, it's great.
That's pretty cool, man. It's almost like, I mean, I always like concepts. I should say, I always think that the best concepts are ones that can kind of touch on like that Whovian Doctor Who angle, not just of science fiction, but where, one of the reasons why Doctor Who is brilliant is because it's a premise that makes sense for the universe it's in, and you can pretty much do anything, right? So as a creator, if one episode Doctor Who is at the very edge of the universe and fighting aliens in the future, the next episode he's talking to Andy Warhol in the factory in the 60s. Like he can do, literally there's no story that you can't do. And I think you've kind of touched on something potentially anyway that has those potentialities, right? Because you're talking about these specks who are not human, and so you have the potential to explore an alien world, but that alien world could literally be the hair on the back of a dog, right? So you have these interesting ways that they could interact with various elements, both in their own, through their own perception, and also through like our perception as like bigger organisms or something. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. That's all. Yeah. That's kind of at the base of the idea too, is write it open-ended enough. And you just set the lore, you set the rules, set the parameters. And when you have that structure, it's like, okay, like then just like let it go and just see what happens, and just like give it a good push basically. And I think if you set it up like that, and you want it to really have no ending, I mean, maybe it will never have an ending. It just keeps going on, or, whatever. It can be anything. So that's the fun of it. And I think, also letting people make up their own lore, make up their own characters later on. I think that's what makes it kind of fun and, different.
So you started this off it started off as a comic, right?
Yeah, no, it's always been a comic actually. Well, yeah, I should probably say it. Let me back up. This is probably actually the 4th or 5th time I've tried to start this comic. And I started when I was like 17, like in high school, just like doodling in class and like the, side of the notes. And this is like how I failed calculus class. I literally was just like, oh, I could just make comics. And I just started working on this comic book in class.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. Yeah. But I just tried it many times. And I also feel like so many things have gotten in the way of getting it, or to get it done, or get it set up to the point where it could just go. And usually those things involved like, the amount of time for it, or like just work, or, a lot of other factors. And this is the only time where there's actually people that are actually like looking at it now, and there's time to actually do it. Like I actually have like a good routine now. Like I can do this now, and it feels good. I also feel like the style I'm working in is probably, I can work a lot faster, and I've kind of found this simplified style where you can still churn out a story faster. And I've learned that through animation.
Yep.
I didn't have that before, so I think it really helps a lot to keep it moving along.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. It's the same thing, dude. Like when we started Adult Fantasy, the reason why I chose the style I did for the season 1 characters, it was specifically because I wanted to find an art style that I could flow between like a perfect. I was trying to go for like a perfect balance between comics and animation, where an animator or an animation producer or studio could look at it and say, there's the animated character for the third three-quarter standing, the standing three-quarter shot for the model sheet. And on the other side, a comic artist could say, well, here's enough detail, if they wanted, when comic artists want to add their own style and kind of interpret the character in the way they normally interpret through their own technique, they would have enough detail to say, okay, well, here's how we could move forward with it, right? So kind of strike that balance. And animation was really, really pivotal for me, man. Like when I was in high school and college, all I wanted to do was pencil comics. So I trained myself to pencil comics. And, in comics, you're kind of trained to be able to create one page a day, but there's no time limit on that one page a day. So you end up spending like 17 hours on the page. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
for sure. Yeah.
You're just like, until you pass out, you're like, gotta make it right. And when I got into animation, you're drawing thousands and thousands and thousands of cells. Both now digitally and previously when we were using paper, and so you really had to get good at getting used to the style and finding the shapes of the objects you were drawing, like the character, like the arm and the head and you had to just get it down and go. And it got me so much faster in my drawing ability. Awesome. And I think you kind of touched on something. The reason I'm kind of calling that out is because I think it's such a professional way to look at something, right? Like most people don't think about what you just said in terms of like, oh, well, this is a style that I can convey all of the information that I need to convey as a storyteller and as a creator. And I'm getting rid of all the superfluous stuff, right? The extra crap. And it also fits into a place where I'm not going to have to slam my face against a wall. I can do what I need to do and enjoy it, right? And that's a huge thing. It's also one of the reasons why in comics, like you look at someone's comic work in their 20s and 30s, and you compare it to what they're doing in their like 60s and 70s if they're still drawing, and you'll see a slow gradation almost into going from like hyper detailed, anatomically correct work all the way down to like core shapes and basic structures for like really loose character drawing, right? Yeah. Because you can't go that hard when you're in your 70s, right? And so they're forced to find another style that can fit into their lifestyle, right?
Yeah, unless you're like Robert Crumb or something like that. You're just like crazier and crazier as you're going better. Yeah, but totally though. Yeah, I think that efficiency it's like that way of like what are the most essential pieces? And it was like, it reminds me of this time I went to a comic shop and I was looking at all these really complete books. And I was just thinking like, man, I want to make like a book so bad. And like, I would just make these little short comics, and we're talking to the guy at the store and he's like seen everything come through. And it's like, how do you just make a book like that? Like what would you recommend? Like, what is your advice from what you've seen? And his advice was, just find a style that you could do quickly and do simply, and then just stick to it and don't overthink it, and then just let it come out. And even if you want to revise it, just like get it done. And then that's how these things happen. You don't want to get stuck in these small details forever and then never let it move along. That's right. I was also working on a project even during like my COVID project before even NFTs. I was working on this more ambitious comic, and it was way longer. And I just kept like condensing it and getting just so stuck that it now is only like 40 or like it's like 35 to 40 pages or so. Mm-hmm. But even that took so long to do. And I don't know, like it's like a burnout, right? Oh, totally. Yeah, the burnout level. I just stopped so many times, and I still haven't even released it or done anything with it yet because I'm just still sitting on it, and it's like that project on the side. But
and I think the other thing too, man, that I really find interesting about your approach and kind of how you've made this decision from the jump is that, like, the other thing that artists, and this is a comic artist thing as well, and traditional artists too, when you're sitting down and you're trying to go like balls out, where you're just like, okay, I'm going to really put everything into, and then tell me if this work happened to you with that 45 pager. Like, you go into it and you're working really hard into it, and by the time you've hit the 45th page, for instance, you look back at that first page and you're like, fuck, that sucks. Because there's actually like you've actually grown as an artist. Maybe you're drawing a little better, maybe you're getting better, or maybe you're now looking back and you're like, oh, that panel blows, or I wish I had drawn that better, or whatever. Whereas with animation styles, once you've actually locked the style and you're like, this is the way it's drawn, like, you might criticize yourself for a bad shot, or, oh, I could have told that story better. But there's no degradation of style across. I mean, you can the day one drawing Powerpuff Girls or Dexter's Laboratory, you could draw that every day for the rest of eternity and have it be exactly the same. So there's no degradation of style, and it looks like it's a really interesting way of unifying a universe, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, it's like that's like a good rule to follow, I think. And yeah, and even like the style I found currently too, it was just, I was doing a lot of just ink drawings with the brush, and, you know, I spent too much time on them. And there's a certain point where, you know, it's like, how do you, like, if I was to ever animate this, like that's the goal eventually. But if I want to animate it, why am I spending time doing this and making it more detailed? Like, I really need to find a simplified way to work. And that's why I ended up with the style currently. So a little bit of exploration to get there, but it's worth it. And I think it, even like with color and stuff too, it's a different way to look at it. I was not using color before in my work, and yeah, it's cool to, I feel okay about this style now. I'm like, all right, this is like, I can do this, and it can go a while, you know, these are the rules basically.
So you mentioned a minute ago that like, before you tried to do this before, you tried to do Specks of Dust before, and there were things that got in the way, right? And I'm curious, like, what were those things? I mean, was it just a style thing, or what was getting in the way, and why were you able to kind of break through it this time?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So style is one of the biggest factors. I think I changed the style of this probably, I don't know, maybe like, yeah, every time it's been different. But every time I would always look at it, and I would get like a few pages into it or something, and I have the story all sketched out. It's been like a year sketching it out. Like, oh, I'm going to do this now, and then go to begin illustrating, and then I would hate the way I was drawing it. I would just look at it and like, I don't like this. It doesn't work, you know, and it would just never progress. Or I'd get far enough into it and then just eventually hate it, and then just not want to do it anymore. And that was a factor. It was like hard thing to get over. But I was also younger in my career in general too, and I don't know, I was still exploring different styles. I was doing collage work. I was doing, you know, painting, and I was working as a sign painter for a bit too, and just a lot of different styles. So I was still trying to find what that was. But then also, yeah, just the amount of time I have to spend, you know, working and trying to juggle a full-time job, and how much energy to put into, you know, working for somebody versus working on your own stuff. And, you know, even as the sign painter job that I had for a while, it was, you know, you're climbing on a ladder and you're putting up a sign and you're painting something, and it's really exhausting. And then at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do after riding the subway home in like New York City or something is just come to your apartment with no windows and then just try to like work on stuff. It's so depressing, and there's zero energy for it. You have to just do the next thing the next day, and
yeah,
it just never ends. And it's so hard to just get ahead and actually make a creative project and have it work. And I don't know, even now, I feel like the most stable, like the happiest, the most comfortable, just everything. I feel like I have understood efficiency a little more with working, and I feel a lot it's like, it hasn't been like this before. And this is the time. Like, if I was ever to do it, it's right now. And this is it, you know. And then the NFT thing changes everything too. It's a whole different variable thrown in there.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I mean, one of the reasons why, like, I spent my time when I was animating and directing and stuff, I spent most of my time, you know, obviously, like, I was running a small studio, and so you're spending most of your time working for client stuff, like, you know, you're just doing animation, which is great. I love it, you know. But then I can absolutely relate to like to clock, kind of hitting the buzzer, clocking out from client work, and then you like grab dinner or something, and you're like, cool, I really want to move forward on my project or whatever. And you know, for me, I would always break up the day, because I usually worked out of my studio or worked out of my house or apartment. And then, so I'd break it by going out, getting something to eat, or, you know, getting a cup of coffee or something, coming back to the apartment and sit down and try to work. And then it was just like so fucking hard, man. Like, because you just spent a dozen hours doing it, but already at a high energy level for something else. And just to start, it's very difficult to start your day from scratch on a project at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, when you've been working all day on something else. It's really impossible. Like, it's so hard. Like that. I was like, dude has a tail. It's freaking awesome. So, so one of the things I'm also curious, man, is like, you know, I know that with Specks of Dust, it's not just about Scott making comics and Scott making NFTs and Scott doing Scott's thing, like you're bringing in elements of storytelling and kind of breaking boundaries in the space by bringing in like holders, right? Like I think you call them like Odyssey holders. Like,
yeah, so there's a couple phases of the project. The first one was doing origins. That's like the first pass basically, and then the people that own origins, we're gonna do like little airdrops of artwork over time. So there's benefit to holding that, and then we have the Odyssey holders, and that's more of the PFP collection. And those people, those holders, they're gonna be able to choose the story. So there's different benefits to each, but yeah, that was the idea. So yeah, and also being able to choose the story, that's another one of those things that was the big hang up, like trying to not overthink the story too much. And you spend all this time thinking about it and having a big plan for it, and then suddenly it's just overthink it. It's like do I want to do this? And then hearing the audience, like if you ask people like, oh, what would you rather see next, and having them pick that's a benefit to doing it this way. And I feel like it's a little experiment too, but I think it's a solution to one of the biggest hangups I've probably had in the past.
So like that's yeah, I love that. I think it's really important. Like you have, when you're giving people the ability in any way to jump into the project on any level, you know what I mean? Like for AF, for us, we're trying to like do it 100%, but it's not necessarily the right way. It's just a way. Right. Yeah. And I love, and I think this is, I don't know if it's exclusive to storytelling projects or projects that are based in kind of like our space, but it certainly seems that projects that have some kind of storytelling component, whether they're the comic based ones or animation based ones or film based ones, even some of the game ones, like if their core focus is the storytelling side, like they're public about storytelling is important, you think it's obvious, and then you realize that most people don't know jack about it, but like so much that we're like a niche in a niche, but like for the projects that actually are really focused on storytelling, they seem, and maybe this is my bias and maybe it's just the anecdotal stuff from the projects that I talk to, but it seems like pretty much everybody that's in the storytelling space is really open about having the audience, having holders not just be holders, right? Actually like involving people in the story on some level, and it varies project to project. Yeah. But bringing people into the process so that they can, at the smallest side, at least understand the process and like, hey, this is how you put together a story, or this is how we're putting together a comic, or what have you, all the way up to like, hey, what do you think the next story should be, or what do you think the next project should be? What do you think, should the character go left or right? What should the next character be? Like, once you start playing with this, I think it really opens up such a universe of possibility for people and involvement. And to me, it's the core of what Web3 is. It's the stuff that I dreamed of as a kid. Like, I think it's hard for people to really understand because relatively we're all small projects. You know what I mean? Like even Bored Ape is not, Disney or Marvel yet. You know what I mean? No. And like, if you had asked me as a teenager, even as a college student, hey man, would you like to write a Spider-Man comic or do your sample pages for the Amazing Spider-Man and do a backup story? And if we use it, we'll publish it and you'll get a cut. You will pay, even if it was like a flat rate. We're talking about royalties and all that kinds of, staking and all that kind of crazy NFT stuff. But even if they had just been and we'll pay you a page rate if we decide to use that stuff, I would have been sending stuff every week. Like there would have been nonstop submissions. And these companies never thought of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, it's such a unique time to do this sort of thing. And also there's also a tremendous amount of NFT hate. And I think a lot of it is probably, a lot of the way a lot of projects have been running, and maybe like people doing like rug pulls and all these horrible things that, really give it a bad name. But to actually combine it with something with storytelling and to actually do it this way, I think it brings a new level of value into a project for somebody. And it's like, oh, like I had like 12 of these votes, and I swayed the story at this point. Like, here's like the book of it, and this would be different if I wasn't in this project, or have that kind of thing is kind of a cool reward, I think, for somebody that's into a project or that likes the story that's happening. And even storytelling by itself too, even outside of the NFT world, even like brands and all kinds of companies too, storytelling is such a huge way to even like market something, or to even have somebody relate to what the product is. I mean, you could put something out there and somebody may not even, why would they care about it if they don't know what it is, or there's no context. And that's like, you go like even on Twitter for the NFT world now, and it just seems like everything is storytelling. Everybody's talking about it now, and nobody seems to really fully understand like what it means. But people are like, oh, show me storytelling NFTs, and it's like a million different answers to this one question. But it's like, here we are, and we're doing this right now, and we could establish that. We could set the standard of what that means, and it's really exciting to me. Like, it's such a cool way to do it, and it also completely cut out these like corporations or whatever else is in the way usually of this kind of stuff. Traditionally, you can just do your own thing, write your own script.
Yeah, and I think too, the cat's out of the bag. Like, your project has done it, my project has done it. Pretty much anyone in the NFT space who's been working in storytelling has kind of helped to do it. But the Pandora box has been opened, and I don't think it's possible to not do this now. Meaning, like, regardless of what people think about it at the moment, and sure, you're going to get massive hate. I want to definitely talk about NFT hate in a minute, but like, because it's a thing. But you have these large companies like the Hollywood studios and all this, and they're interested and they're kind of getting involved, but they're getting involved because they kind of feel like they have to,
right?
Which is also the way it should be. And what's so interesting is that I don't know what it's going to be or what project's going to do it, but I think we all know that there's going to be a project that's going to be the next blockbuster film. There's going to be a project that's the next blockbuster animation. There's going to be a project that's the next blockbuster comic or whatever. And when that happens, there is no turning back. Every single company is going to have to go through this. Like, they're all going to have to do it. The way that I can relate this in a direct way is, so I was at Cartoon Network pretty much from the jump, like when Cartoon Network started.
So cool.
And they were doing traditional animation, and a lot of the spots, they were like 10 minute animations, and they put 2 animations in an episode, so you get like 2 episodes of Powerpuff Girls and one episode, right?
Oh yeah.
And that was fine. And then something called South Park came along, and from like an executive producer perspective, destroyed the industry, man. Yeah. Like, those guys came out, and it was like, they made it. I remember the conversations by like pissed off executives. Like, they made it for how much? Yeah. Like, it's construction paper, and like we were passing around the VHS tape of their pilot. Like, being like, no way, these guys fucking. It was a total middle finger to, like, not just animation studios, but it was like, from an animation perspective, like, those guys were just giving a big old middle finger to the way everything was done. And and that was great because they made $1 bazillion, and they did the spread on what they made versus what they spent was fantastic for them. It was fantastic for Comedy Central at the time. However, the tidal wave that it created was that the very next season, everyone's budget was basically like, cool, so we're going to start making animation for $5,000 an episode. And you're like, what? Like, they went from like $250,000 at the time to like $5,000. And that was really, that was basically the birth of Adult Swim, was them trying, that whole network, Adult Swim, was basically built at the start to compete with South Park. It's like, we don't know what's going to hit. Let's do a bunch of stuff for under $5,000, C-Lab, where they already had the animation. All you have to do is write the script and change the dialogue. And all that stuff was made to fight against South Park.
Yeah.
And to this day, it never changed. Like, you don't really see, like, oh, we're going to do a Saturday morning cartoon or whatever, or a season, and we're going to do like $500,000 an episode. Like, those still happen, but they're far between, man. Like, the budgets get cut because they have the ability to limit the animation now, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's also just like crazy hearing you talk about this stuff too, because it's like the stuff you've like worked on, like Adult Swim and all these things. It's totally like like watching it at such an impressionable age and being like, yeah, well, I want to do that. Like that's awesome. And then I don't know, it's so cool. Like, now it's like, here we are. But I think this time period too, it's one of those kind of things where you see the way things are established and the way people work, and you apply for these jobs and things, like nothing ever sticks. And then it's like, what is that opportunity? Like what is that big seismic shift that's going to happen that'll, that's going to create a new opportunity and that new door to walk in that hasn't happened before. Yeah. And I was just like always like waiting for that. And I could never figure out what that was, and going like through college or like my 20s, everything, just never really found it. And then I just feel like this is like the new standard, the way people are using NFTs to do these sort of projects. Like this is it. And maybe it's not, maybe there's like less money involved later on or whatever, maybe things change, but just that fundamental usage of it, I think this is it. And if you're a young artist now or trying to start out, or you want to self-fund yourself in some way, I mean, maybe Patreon was the way to do that. Maybe you just try to build your subscriber base. You have
OnlyFans, really, for me.
Yeah, if we get like do that route, yeah, totally. But depends on what your industry is. But yeah, no, but like that's like one option. I mean, you can go for like build your subscribers and try to convince people to do like a monthly kind of project. But yeah, or you can do it this way, and you could actually have holders. You can have like stakeholders in your project of some sort, and have people actually like really be in it. It's cool. It's very different. And yeah, I think we're into something that's new and big.
Yeah. I will say though, I am a mean pole dancer. So really quick, let's jump into chat. See who's here for the night. Dusty, what's up, man? Welcome. What's up, dude? Thank you so much as always, man. Willie D, what's up? LFG, how you doing, Willie? Good to see you. KG, what's up, man? Let's go. MK, what's up, dude? Welcome. Good GM lurking. That's all right. Rageous is here. What's up, Rageous? How you doing? Rageous, I'm actually working on an original sketch for Rageous. He turned in his, we have this thing called an original sketch cover on one of our NFTs, and Rageous has commanded me to create a couple of characters for him. So I will be done. It's on my drawing table actually right now.
That's awesome.
Mastiff, what's up, dude? Let's LDG, let's duck and go. What's up, Mastiff? How are you, sir? Tyler, what's up, man? Welcome. LFG, Specs for life.
Hell yeah.
How you doing, man? Welcome. Natasha, let's go. TK's going strong. What's up, TK? How you doing? Specs for life. Ray just wants to know if Scott is Dusty's brother.
Maybe. I don't know. Not that I'm aware, but
another mother, a brother from another mother. What's up, Ensayo Floor? What's up? Oh, I got that. Ensayo Floor. I think I got it. What's up? Welcome. Thank you so much for showing up. Good evening. Massive says, awesome session, guys. And then he says, Dusty's doppelganger, a new AF character. And that's a good idea, apparently. Hell yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming out tonight, as always. And don't forget, I'm just gonna pitch. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe. We're giving away an NFT, an Adult Fantasy Ashcan edition. So free NFT, comment, like, subscribe, and we'll be picking somebody later to be the winner. I don't know if we're doing that on stream, but you will know, we promise. So, dude, you mentioned a couple things that really I kind of took a little note on. The first was NFT hate. And I'm curious about this because we got I wouldn't say we got a lot of it. We definitely got hate and FUD and all that good stuff when you kind of launch from different corners. I haven't gotten personally a lot from traditional comics and animation, but that's also because like they don't know. You know what I mean? Like I've been so. I just was like, okay, cool, NFTs, NFT space, NFT people, and just kind of taking care of our tribe, like,
yeah.
Have you personally like had any of that NFT hate come back to you as like someone's in animation or doing comics? Like, has it hit you yet?
No, I mean, nobody's really, I've witnessed a lot of it. And there's people also I know that definitely don't like it, or they're kind of against the technology. And I think it's one of those things too, especially people in the tech world. It's kind of one of those things where cool, we have this thing. This is like what you can do with it, and then let's figure out what problem we're going to solve now. And it's like putting the cart before the horse. And I think for some people too, that might be an issue. And that's like how the tech industry does work. And it's I don't know, it's not ideal, but that's one factor. But then also, yeah, I think there's just a lot of it is a very aggressive. It could be a very aggressive kind of way to approach even art, which is like usually like not aggressive at all. And you have like something that's like finance and tech, and then art like combined. Yeah. And it's like things that it's like haven't really gone together really well before. And it's like, boom, here we go, let's do it. And then it's kind of funny to witness, but it is really cool too, and it's really different. And it's one way to use it. Maybe there's other ways that are probably better that we'll figure out at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people that don't seem to like it much, or I think people that don't really know enough about it, maybe I think they don't really see like the full potential of it. And yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done. Like it's kind of overwhelming, and I think, but it's still very clunky. It feels kind of like we're using like 1990s internet or something.
As the AOL of
Yeah, and conversations I've had, people are like, well, like, what is the value of this? Like, why would I want to get this? And it's like, well, we also need to like do these test cases of these kind of things. I mean, if people are talking about doing these like really complex things with like the blockchain, and do you really want to be putting your entire life on this thing or whatever it is in the future without just throwing out a few like JPEGs or whatever first, and just see how that goes, and like see if it works. So I mean, there's that, but then I do think like a lot of the comic world, people that are more traditional that don't want to see this kind of stuff progress as fast. Maybe they're maybe they like more traditional art and the way that's been. Maybe they're just more against that kind of thing, that kind of change, and don't want to see the industry evolve like that. And I understand that side of it too. So I think even with this project, it's if I could find a way to combine comics and NFTs, which I feel like are still like kind of butting heads at times. I mean, there must be some sort of compromise there and some way to make it work.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to. I always think a lot of it has to do with fear, right? Yeah. Like there's the fear of change and things that we know about, but fear of the unknown, and a lot of that fear is like, I don't know how to do this, right? And so that I'm left out, so therefore I'm just gonna kind of cut it off, right? Yeah. And it is interesting that most of the people that I've seen or read who really hate NFTs, I don't think I've met one that actually had a wallet, had a MetaMask, knew what Way was or gas, or had done any trading, or had purchased an NFT before, or felt what it's like to own something, or sold something. They've never done it. So it's sort of like, that's bad, but it's from the perspective of having never experienced it.
Yeah.
Right. It's really an interesting paradigm. And I do think a lot of it, and I've been around long enough now to like have seen this kind of trend before. Like I remember, back in like 2008, when Lehman Brothers crashed, especially in Manhattan and New York City, everybody started launching startups. It was kind of the crash spawned the boom in tech companies, because all these people lost their jobs and they were like, okay, we'll just start our own companies. Yeah. And basically what happened is when these people started their companies, there was a lot of there was a lot of news articles and a lot of hate towards people, because starting companies uses computation, and computation is bad for the environment. And so all of that code has to be stored somewhere, and that creates the same argument, the same exact argument. And what's fascinating to me is that you don't hear that like the number of startups and software companies are magnified times 1,000,000 since 2008.
Oh yeah.
On top of which is another 1,000,000% with all of us, just regular human people using the internet. We're live streaming right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a phone. But the argument disappears when the argument disappeared when the people who were making the complaint either got a job at the companies, right? not as that they were shilling for one, but they ended up having to get a job at one of those companies because they took over, or they started using the technology themselves and got comfortable with it, right? Yeah. Or it just got baked so into their lives that it doesn't even become an issue anymore, right? Not to say that issues don't still exist. It's just to say that the argument tends to dissipate when everybody just acknowledges that it's a thing. So much to the point that there are projects now that all they're doing, and this shows a little bit of like the give and take of like how a little bit ridiculous the NFT hate is, right? Even if some of the points are justified, we get it. But you'll see companies you'll see big companies, and they'll be coming out with their NFT project, and you'll look at it and they don't list the word NFT anywhere. It just says digital collectible.
Sure.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, the argument's gone. There's no complaining. The people that hate NFTs love digital collectibles.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, at first you're like, well, isn't that a little bit misleading? But then you're like, well, not really. They are digital collectibles. So if it's, they're digital collectibles, they just live on the blockchain, or they're, through a smart contract. Like it's like, is it really that simple that we just have to change the language a little bit to get around this issue,
Yeah, classic like marketing move, or like political move. You just like kind of keep rebranding every few years and just call it something different. And yeah, I mean, it's one way to do it too, but at its core though, it's like what its biggest issue is maybe energy consumption, possibly. I do think, I don't know. Yeah, that can be worked on, and I think they are already. And it's like even to stop like whatever, like the Bitcoin mining, that kind of stuff. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, it's like those are issues. But I think that's also one of those crude problems that I think will, be resolved in time. And there's also like way worse stuff currently that's out there. And it's like these people that are also complaining about it are probably also still driving, combustible engine cars and all these things. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it is what it is. But a lot of times I found these arguments. I don't know. It's like the more I look into it, the more I'm just like, it's not like, I don't think they fully understand all of it to say that. So yeah.
It's really, it's fascinating. It's going to be so interesting to see where all of this is in like 10 years. 10 years, which in NFT time is like, 18 lifetimes or something. But
But even in 10 years too, I think even what we're seeing back to like with, even like intellectual property and like these big studios that are like looking into the NFT space. I mean, definitely it's like you're probably going to find a lot of these like stories and projects developing that'll be the next big movie or program or whatever it is, or even maybe more usage with like things with ticketing or something. I mean, I did read some arguments about even NFTs as tickets and how, maybe there's a lot of, it's like too slow. There's a lot of weird issues with it. It's not really like functional now, but then I also read like AMC is looking into doing more NFT stuff in theaters. And so, yeah, I mean, sure, once technology improves, things get faster. It's just one of those things. Like I don't know, you have to like to have the crude set up first. And then once you have it working, it's like, all right, find efficiencies and make it better over time. And, we'll see what happens, but it seems like enough people are already doing it that, I don't know. I'm also like a very realistic optimist. So I'm sure.
Me too. I know I'm a fatal optimist. It's like so optimistic it'll probably kill me. I'll never forget like the conversation I had with Melissa, who's my wife, but she's also our senior dev. Like she's a senior Solidity dev, and when I was telling her about blockchain and we were getting into NFTs, or I was getting into NFTs, like my conversation to explain the space basically came down to me saying, look, I've bought some magic beans, and the beans are going to turn into a big beanstalk. Yeah. You just got to trust me. And she's like, you sold our cow for beans? It was a little more like, wait, the kids that can't go to college now because, but whatever, it's fine. Everything's fine.
100%.
Fair market, build market, everything's fine. But, but yeah, we kind of live in this, it's such a fantastical thing to have to explain to people, beyond the technology stuff, right? Which is, I think, it makes it hard to get into.
But at its core, it is complicated to even, I think, trying to explain it to somebody out of the gate, like, all right, like this is your crash course email. Can like look through this and see if you can understand it, and it's a lot. I mean, like I feel like most people probably, for right now, the way it works, probably don't have the time even to do that kind of thing. It's definitely takes a certain personality to sit through all of it and get it set up or already be in it enough to understand it. So I'm curious once that gets better and more improved, and maybe that'll create a wider reach, bigger audiences, that kind of thing eventually in time. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Juan Carlos, what's up? He says, you guys are awesome. Such an inspiration. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Effing says, Scott's a legend. Awesome interview, Todd. Well, thank you, Scott. You are a legend.
Oh, sweet.
I see KG and Rageous have issues commenting because it's a live stream. Yeah, I see Dusty got him. That's cool. And MK says, lol, beans are so accurate. It really is. I really did have a conversation. I was like, so I want to take some money and out of our savings account, and I'm going to get these tokens, and these tokens, like, it's a bull market, and I really, it can increase in value, and and it was really like I don't know, like if you get that look, in your significant other's life, it's like, I got this look.
Yep. 1,000-yard stare. Yep.
Yeah, and I was just like, no, really, it was really difficult.
I've given up on explaining to my wife over and over again. She's like, I don't care. Like, I don't even. So
awesome. Oh, Dusty says we have a prize wheel when I'm ready to pull. All right, we'll do that. We'll do that in a few, for sure. So people get in and they jump into Specks of Dust, and they get the NFT, and they're voting on story, and they're voting on maybe where the project goes, things like that.
Yeah, so I guess there's two different votes. One is the story vote, and then one is just more of a general project vote. So if we do, right now we're testing merchandise ideas. We have like one vote, and we did like a tote bag design, like a really simple thing, and everybody is like, people voted no so far. So it's like, cool. Like I know where you guys stand on this. So like let's step it up a little bit next time. And so even to have that just temperature check, that's like kind of the governance thing. Anything big that comes along, like let's put it up for vote and just see what people think about it. I mean, if people say no, then why would we do that? Like, this is the audience. Like, well, this is what it's for. So, keep it really, really like democratic. Keep it, let people vote on everything, and then, and same with the story. So it's just those two components.
So are you thinking about moving more into, like, especially from the comic angle? Are you thinking about moving more into like physicals, like comics and stuff like that for the pieces, or?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the goal. Is I'd love to actually do a book and self-publish it, or even shop it out to publishers or something. I mean, go that route and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, for now it's like it'll just live on the website, and we'll piece it out as we go through it. And I think when it's like enough, and maybe the story feels like it's at a good bookend, like let's get the book, let's put something out. And
there's so many good ways to do that. I actually was talking to, we did an interview with Pinballer a little bit ago, and they had their own comic, and I think it was Pinballer. Apologies to Pinballer if this wasn't your idea, but I'm pretty sure it was. But like it was such a cool idea where you get the NFT, and I think it started off at like 4 pages, the comic. So the NFT unlocks a comic, and the comic's like 4 pages. Okay. But what they're doing is they're actually adding to it on a regular basis. So that NFT will eventually become like a comic. And I don't know if they're maybe even a graphic novel, but I don't know where they're taking it to, but like they're just continually adding pages to it. So that NFT that you purchase continues to grow, right? Which I thought was such a cool idea. And it just goes to show, like, it's so, there's so many ways to be inventive. I mean, that almost brings almost like a web comic, like doing like a weekly page drop is such a web comic kind of perspective, or like even something like a webtoons where here's the week's story and you've got your 5 or 10 pages or what have you. And like, but to tie that into like a collectible, like a comic NFT or something is such a unique concept, right?
Oh yeah. That's also one of those things, like you've been experimenting with like airdrops for these like original holders too. I also realized, like, hey, you could totally like, some of these you could swap the image out on like the NFT, and you could actually like, you could keep updating it. You could just like Kanye West album, like Life of Pablo, where you could just kept like, it's not done. I'll keep it like just changing it on you. And like you could do that kind of thing. It's like, it's set up for that, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I need to think about it a little bit more and figure out if there's like a way to actually do that well, but it's, it's kind of fun. It's like a weird kind of thing. I almost feel like that's like good for an airdrop. Like no one wants me to pay for something and then just keep changing it on them either without making it very clear that's what it is ahead of time. So PFPs are safe, but maybe the airdrops, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of a weird, fun thing that you could do.
So have you, and I'm asking this only because I know your background with animation and stuff, and like I know, you know, I know on your website you've animated a few things, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, are you planning on or working on like animated spots or commercials or just kind of promos for it or a pilot or something?
So that was like the ambitious idea. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to like actually make a animated series out of this. But then I was like, you know, it's I'm already running like this by myself too. Like I have a small team of people helping out with things, but beyond that, like if I'm the one creating the stuff, it's a ton of work. Like it'll take forever. It'll never get done. But if it's about the story, moving that along, it's probably better to go the comic route and just keep it simple and do it that way, just to get the idea out. But you know, we'll see. Maybe eventually it could be, but for now, it's a comic, and but it's designed to be. It could be animated.
What's the this is also something that I love asking, because I don't think any of us that have actually done this knew exactly what we were getting into, right? Like it's we love it, never quitting it, but it's a tremendous, to your point, it's like a ton of work, right?
Oh yeah.
What's been the biggest surprise in terms of like something that's been difficult, right? Like I'll give you an example. So like for me, you know, I have like a really strong production background, so I had no doubt that we could make and deliver the stuff that we were talking about making and deliver, right? Like totally cool, not a problem. What was the biggest surprise to me was the heavy involvement in Discord, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
before our community, before Discord, it's like the first Discord I ever started, ever ran. You know, now I'm used to it, you know, because it's been over a year, you know, it's been like a year and whatever. But like it was by far the biggest. I was like, oh, this is like a full-time job. Like just the Discord, like setting it up and trying to set gates and, you know, tokenize this and that. And like what was your biggest surprise so far, and like at least like oh crap, this is an obstacle that I'm gonna have to overcome for this?
Probably taxes. Yeah, I would say. Yeah. I was like, God, what am I doing? You know, that was it. That was a nightmare. But yeah, hopefully I don't get audited or something. But beyond that, though, no, I think yeah, marketing is challenging. I mean, that's one aspect. Or even yeah, sometimes it's hard to get the word out about something and to make it or to explain it to somebody too. And especially when you're in a sea of projects that are all pretty interesting and a lot of them are offering really unique utility or you know, have quite some momentum behind them. Just to put something out there it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, it's really difficult just to do. And it's not like you could just. I mean, some projects come out pretty fast and people seem to have them out in no time. But it's a ton of work. Like even like when the Queen passed away, there was like some NFT project I saw, and it was like somebody already did like a whole like PFP collection, and it was like a Queen themed one. And I was just like, this is like hours later. How did you even do that? Like how's that even possible? And I have no idea. It's so I don't know. Yeah, the speed of it is like unlike anything I've ever seen. Like by the time you already have an idea and it even goes to market, the market is totally different, and you have to completely rethink your plan, and everything's upside down. And just throws everything off, which is, you know, that's a huge challenge too. I mean, so fast.
Yeah, it really is true. And I think one of the other things that I think one of the hard things that's coming up that's really started to happen towards the middle of the end of last year, but is actually picking up now, even though it's kind of feels like a quiet time, is that, you know, venture capital is in the space now. And on its own, that's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, some entrepreneurs want to go out and raise cash so they have it in their coffers so they can move at a faster pace. That's really all it is, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But what's so interesting and what's kind of challenging is that you now have companies that, you know, the blue chip, the quote unquote blue chip NFT projects that do an announcement like Bored Ape raises this much amount of money or Pixel Vault raises this much. Like there's a public side where some NFTs will be like, hey guys, we just want to let you know we raised X amount of millions of dollars. That means we're going to be here, and that's totally fine. You know, none of it is a problem. But what I think is challenging for founders is that, you know, when you go to OpenSea, you've got this JPEG versus that JPEG. And behind the scenes, this person is a solo artist or like a group of friends who are trying to make something. And this one is a venture-backed startup that has raised, you know, several $1 million, but it's not public that they announced it, right? And they don't have to announce. There's no law that, you know, whatever. But it's a very different, or they're different organisms. You know what I mean? Like the thing that these projects are trying to do are completely different. But from a public facing side, they look identical because it's like that cool image or that cool image and this team's roadmap versus that team's roadmap. Yeah. And so I think from a consumer side, that's actually something that can be hard because I don't think a lot of people, I think the perception right now is that most of these projects are just a group of really cool people making stuff. And while that's true for a lot of people, there's also groups that are really cool people making stuff backed by millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. And whether that's good or bad, I'm not really here to judge. But I think from a customer facing side, there's still that like indie rock kind of like alt band. Like these are all like small bands playing in garages. When the truth is that they, you know, if you go out back, one of them has a giant bus with like a fridge in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, yeah, that's like the thing. I mean, you know, I'm all for like just like the plywood stage and just like, you know, just winging it, and you know, like 10 people show up at the show, but you still play it. It's fine. You put the work in. I mean, take the Henry Rollins approach to it. Just
yeah, hell yeah, man.
Tour every day, but at the same time too, it's like when there's a lot of money behind something too, and that's a standard. I mean, that also sets the bar quite high too. And then if a small project has to suddenly deliver a lot of these things that are, you know, become the standard of what's promised, it becomes a lot harder to actually compete with. And then it's really up to the consumer to do the research and kind of figure out, like, do you want to actually be in this project? Do you want to support this thing? Or, you know, are you for indie creators? Or are you just going to give money to a big corporation again and just keep following it the way it was before?
That's right.
I don't know. Yeah, it is weird because it's the web3 thing is, the whole idea is to kind of get around all this, like,
I know,
stuff, and it's just the corporations are just slowly getting into it again. And
100%, man.
Trying to figure it out, but yeah.
You know, it's like it doesn't matter which path you choose; they both have challenges, right? Like the independent creator has disadvantages and advantages, and the project startup that raises has advantages and disadvantages. For the independent creator, the challenge is finance and time. Right? Yeah. Like most creators have more time than money. So you got to grind it out. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
The pro, and that would be the con, right? The pro is that if you're dedicated to it, and if it's just like, I'm going to do this, there's really nothing to stop you from doing this for 20 years. Like there really isn't. Right.
Yeah.
Unless you get tired or bored or injured or worse. Right. Like there's really no reason to stop if the support is there and you're enjoying what you're doing and people enjoy you doing it, right? Yeah. On the startup side, the pro is the money to do what you want to do, right? Hey, we want to make a game. Boom, here's $100 million or $10 million or X number of millions of dollars. You have the team, you've got the marketing supplies, you've got the office, right? And you can grind it out. And all of a sudden you've got like a team on Discord, you've got your team on Twitter, you've got your team building the game or building the property or building the merchant. That's taken care of. The money is there for you to build your vision. So that is the one element that you don't have to worry about, right? Yeah. You just add gasoline to the fire. That's what the money does. On the con though, is that the price of that cash is exit, right? So there's only 3 outcomes for a venture-backed startup. There's only 3. IPO, which is going public, right? Yep. Stock exchange, NASDAQ, right? You're going public. The second option is an exit, which is what happens to most companies, where your company gets purchased by another company, and that's how all the investors get their money back, and you get paid and you get the exit, right?
Yeah.
And the third is that it blows up and goes away.
Yeah.
Right? There is no other option for that. There isn't like, hey, I'm going to do this for 25 years. You know, hey, this is going to be my career. I'm going to do this forever, right? Like that only happens if it's like a Facebook or like a really big company, or if your company sells and you just decide to stay, which rarely happens. Usually the founder takes off. So so all of a sudden you have this dynamic which and I think this is something that the public doesn't really understand about NFTs yet, because it's the audience is young to the startup side. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, it's something to consider, right? It's like, okay, if they're venture backed and they have financing, that means they're projecting out into the market. They have to hit. If you raise $4 million, you're basically saying that you're going to be valued at about 40 million, a 10x. So that you have to hit, that company is saying that we have to hit that so we can get more financing. If they don't hit it, or if it goes south, it's game over. Yeah. Right? Everyone gets laid off, there's no more company. So I think there's such a balance between those two things, right? It's like, and I think it's up to us as founders to also educate people on like what we're about and where we're going and what we desire for ourselves and for our project and for our lifestyle, right? So that they as family, consumers, customers, however you want to define the people that support, right? Yeah. Like we call them AFM because these guys are like, these people are family to me. Like I can't do what I can't be, they're giving me permission to do what I'm doing.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's really my responsibility and our responsibility to say, hey, like, this is just so you know, like, these are the pros that we have by choosing this direction, and these are the cons, and that's okay, right? Yeah. There is no win-win magic. Like, it takes, either way is a tremendous amount of work. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think also like on that point too, it's like, you know, funding is a factor. It's like, yeah, that can determine, you know, the scale of your vision, really. And like even in our case, we didn't sell out of our original goal. Like we tried to like, oh, if we have like enough funding, like how would that look? And yeah, we didn't even hit that really, but it's like enough to get it going basically. But it's you know, but it doesn't matter because the project wasn't designed. Like what if 10 people were in it? Like we still, right. And that's how it was designed, so it could still work. And I got like, you know, 50-year, you know, whatever, like ENS domain. I'm like, I'm doing like checking 20 years later, I'll probably still be working on this. So that's like the mindset I have. I'm not like, you know, even if I lost money, I'll probably still be doing this. So
that's awesome, man. I think that's such the right attitude to have. You know, it really is. I tell people like, this is it. Like, I'm going to be doing this for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone, and the reason I can say that is because I know exactly what it takes to do it, because I've done it already. I've already put 25 years in. This is just the next 25. Do you know what I mean? Okay. I didn't have to drop everything and switch. It's the same thing. It's just now it's through a different medium, but it's the same thing. So it's, you know, granted, you know, there's out life stuff that could, you know, interrupt that, but outside of all that stuff, like, there's no reason not to do it.
Exactly.
If I wasn't doing NFTs, I'd still be doing the exact same thing I'm doing right now, because that's what I did for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, these are, I have behind me, these are toys that we made, right? They're like physical toys. Like, I'm just gonna, like, okay, now they're digital, you know?
Yeah, same idea.
Cool.
No, it's incredible. And but even like the mindset of it, I remember even in like third grade, I was still making comics, and I just loved making like a book, stapling together, handing it to somebody, and just look at the reaction and just share stuff you made. And then, you know, people start making comics too, and, you know, you share them, and it's like, I'm still doing the same thing now, but now it's just like digital, and it's just a different way of doing it. But, you know, the heart's still in it. So
hell yeah.
Changes.
Well, awesome, man. Let's cap this off really well. We're gonna bring Dusty up there. Cool. Let's see, Dusty. I'm gonna add you to stream, sir. Hi, Dusty. Hey, look at that. He's on stream. It's so weird. Whoa, hey. You're on mute, brother. It's classic.
Well, hello.
Hey. Really quick, MK says, would love to see this go for 25 years. Great attitude. Count me in.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome. Hell yeah, awesome. Man. All right. So we're doing a prize wheel.
We have got a prize wheel with everybody who Put a comment in the chat box. You are on the wheel. So anybody that didn't do it, this is your last chance.
Last chance. While Dusty's got the last chance call, Juan Carlos says, 25 years. Come on, get the next generation in, and let's roll for the next 50.
Yeah, totally.
And KG's like, Dusty.
Yes.
Dusty. Awesome. All right. So go ahead and if you want to share your screen, Dusty, I'll add it to. There we go. Let's see. Look at that. Done. Look at that prize wheel. That's so nice. Did we get everybody? I think we got everybody.
I think we got everyone. If your name is not on there, let us know now. Take a quick look.
We're going to do a countdown. We'll do a 10-second countdown. I'm watching chat because I know there's a delay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go. And the wheel is spinning. Look at that.
Spinning.
The picker wheel is so cool. Oh, here it comes. KG, what's up?
KG.
Congratulations, KG. You have won the NFT giveaway, Ashcan Edition. Thank you so much, sir, for playing. Badass win. Dusty will reach out. We'll get your wallet of choice, and we will deliver it to you ASAP. So hell yeah, man. That's awesome. KG's like, woohoo! Hell yeah, man. That's great. That's going to come in handy real soon. Let me tell you. F Inc. says congrats. Juan says congrats. Thank you guys. It's so awesome. Willie D says congrats. MK says congrats. Hell yeah. So Dusty, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh,
wrong one.
person.
Oh,
There you go. Technology. So Dusty, thank you so much, man. That was awesome. Scott, dude, where can we find you? Where should we point people?
I'd say specksofdust.club. You can go there. You can read the comics for free. You don't need to own NFTs or anything. Just anybody to read. And then if you want to be in the conversation, hop on the Discord. Or if you want to get in Specks of Dust, you can grab one off the floor, hop in. I mean, vote for the story. One of those options. I mean, we'll be there.
Awesome. Scott, thank you so much. Everybody, check out specksofdust.club. The website's awesome. I love it. I actually have it on my screen, and it's so cool. I've been watching the Speck of Dust, the grandfather Speck of Dust rocking chair for like the last hour. I love it. It's very soothing. It's very nice. It makes me want to sip my tea. Scott, thank you so much, brother. This has been fantastic.
Oh, thank you. This is such an awesome opportunity, and I love the show, and just a huge fan of your work. So just super cool. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you as well. And everybody, thank you so much. Evening Alpha. We love you. Please like, share, subscribe, spread the word. We're here all the time. We do our best to do it multi times a week, as many times as we can get guests on, which has been quite a bit, which has really been awesome. So props to the entire community for the support, and we'll continue to give you the good stuff. Also, check out adultfantasy.io. Check out our Discord. Hop into it. We love you. And with that, we will see you next time. And as always, God bless. Take care. Peace out. Take care of others.